rise of lawlessness, crime, and you can pretty much go through that list and go check, 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 check. The Bible is clear that there will be many attempts at the end of history to destroy Israel and the Jewish people. They will all be defeated, but not without great suffering. And as a follower of Jesus Christ, I am praying for the peace of Jerusalem, but I'm also preparing for the certainty of major wars happening in the Middle East in the not too distant future. And that means providing food and clothing and medical supplies, storehousing this stuff, getting ready that Christians would help stand with Israel and our neighbors ahead of whatever major wars are coming next.
My parents were Holocaust survivors. When people would ask them, where was God during the Holocaust, they would say, as many have said, where were human beings during the Holocaust? We'd like to think that when people are committed to decency, decency triumphs. Jewish tradition does teach us that there will be a conflict between good and evil, Gog, Magog. You find that in Ezekiel. You find allusions to it in the book of Daniel. And ultimately, good will triumph, and the Messiah will arrive, and we'll see a transformation in the world as we know it. But again, the word mitzvah is very important in our tradition because it says, I have responsibilities to you, to others, on this day. So while it's important to have, a view of the next world, that does not relieve us of our responsibility to do in this world. We cannot live with a nuclear end. That has been echoed by many people of all different political backgrounds, all different religious backgrounds. Now, what does that mean? If we can't live with them, then we have to do something to make sure that they don't live with us.
In the time we've been working on this documentary, Iran, with Russia's help, has put a nuclear power plant online, introduced a drone bomber capable of delivering a ballistic missile payload, announced advances in its long-range ballistic missile program, and continued to march unabated towards nuclear weapons capability. By the time you watch this, hopefully, it won't be too late.
Laura, I understand you're on embankment on the river, just steps away from where the protests are now. Earlier we saw you in the heart of London. The protests have marched towards Westminster and the Houses of Parliament. Tell me, what do you see there at the moment?
Well, you're right, Rory. I'm about 300 metres away from the main protest. You might be able to see remnants of it just behind me here. The main protest is taking place right in front of the Houses of Parliament where police have cordoned the protesters into an area. It's a little bit scrappy there at the moment. There's a sort of small outbreaks of violence, protesters trying to break away from the main group. And the police, for a large part, letting them. They're also making their way up just over here towards Trafalgar Square.
Let's take you overseas now to Greece, where workers have taken over the streets of Athens today. That's tear gas you see there. Protesters clashing with police. Some in the crowd threw Molotov cocktails and police responded. The hostile scene sent some Christmas shoppers running for cover. Now, demonstrators are furious over the Greek government's austerity measures, and our Ann McMillan is watching the story. She's watching it from London, but has more detail on the protests. And Ann, those are our latest pictures. What's the latest information from Athens this morning?
Heather, around 15,000 people are on the streets of Athens this morning, or this afternoon. Police are using tear gas against demonstrators, throwing Molotov cocktails and starting fires outside Greek Parliament. There are reports of a former cabinet minister being attacked by a mob who hit him in the face, threw a bottle at him.
Now, the Egyptian army has started arresting anti-government protesters in the center of Cairo. It marks a change of approach by the military, which previously wasn't intervening in clashes between supporters of President Mubarak and anti-government demonstrators. 5 people are reported to have been killed in a morning gunfight in Cairo's Tahrir Square. That follows a day of heavy violence in which hundreds were injured. The country's braced for more trouble as it enters its 10th day of unrest. Ajis Polis leader has more from the Egyptian capital.
It's
been a night of unrest here in Tahrir Square in downtown Cairo as those pro-Mubarak and anti-Mubarak supporters take on one another in front of the Cairo Museum. There have been Molotov cocktails thrown. There have been people lifting road signs out of the road to use the poles to fight one another. There are people that have formed almost some kind of system where one carries buckets of stones and then moves back and reinforces the next. That violence showing no sign of abating.
Police state that's what many protesters here in Toronto, where the G20 Summit of Economic Leaders is taking place, have called it. $1 billion spent on security, 20,000 officers deployed, officers who left this car after it was attacked by protesters who have since written on it, police state, which is what many have characterized it. Out here on the streets of Toronto, protests have been going on all day. They've really been going on all week, but they've culminated today, which is when the actual G20 summit began. Now, many of these protesters were peacefully marching, rallying for various causes that they believe are not being heard by the leaders who are meeting here in Toronto. Many are still surrounding me, although the actual protest ended officially a while ago, ended by riot police. These protesters wanted to get down to the 5-kilometer-long fence that's 12 feet high in order to bring their messages to these economic leaders. They did not make it there. They were stopped blocks away by riot police. Now, behind me, this is another one of the cars that protesters wearing all black, according to witnesses, attacked, and it was surrounded by riot police who eventually backed off and gave it up, and the car has been taken over by protesters. Some that were speaking to me said, hey, we paid for it. It's ours now. It's the least we can do it's the least we get after all of this taxpayer money has been spent on this summit that we didn't want here.
Well, take a look at the pictures there, Rosemary. Again, you're watching it. They're coming in. That is
unbelievable. Look at that.
That is arriving on the coast. As you're watching these dramatic pictures there from Japan, the earthquake occurring about 150 kilometers east of Sendai, I do want to mention that Japan is not the only place that is being affected here, but my goodness, it is now taking the brunt of it there, Rosemary. That is unbelievable.
Extraordinary. I mean, you can see the power lines going down as all of that water roars through and rips. And of course, it is close to the coast. You can see the ships and the boats that are already in the harbour there, but all of the cars are being drawn into that. I mean, this is just extraordinary, seeing these pictures as this unfolds before our very eyes.
We've never seen this. We're watching a live tsunami hit Japan. If you're watching us from around the world here on CNN, that is what you're watching. Those are not taped pictures. That is a live picture of what appears to be a major tsunami arriving along the Japanese coast. Just incredible scenes there.
And of course, Ivan, let's talk about those waves, because you were saying like 500 miles for our US audience, 800 kilometers per hour for our global audience. I mean, just extraordinary strength involved in that. And you say it comes, presumably that first one is the strongest, and then the ones that follow are weaker. Is that correct or not?
No, not necessarily.
News alert on the world food supplies. We have been tracking this story for a few days now, and it is getting quite some attention. Food supplies getting very tight. And on the commodity markets, food prices soaring to levels never before seen. Good evening, everyone. As you join us, medical volunteers across South Florida are making urgent plans to get to Haiti, where a cholera outbreak is continuing to claim more victims. It's a fast-moving and dangerous strain of the disease that hasn't been seen in Haiti for more than half a century. As of tonight, at least 250 people are known to have died, and more than 3,000 others have been sickened. The Haitian government fears many more will become infected and die as the epidemic moves even closer to the quake conflict-ravaged capital of Port-au-Prince. News Channel 5's Liz Nunez spoke with one volunteer who's in Haiti pleading for help.
Now, South Korea is under fire for the handling of its worst ever outbreak of foot and mouth disease. Critics say the authorities were too slow to react and that their response to the problem is inhumane. The South Korean government says that it will cost about $1.4 billion to get things back to normal. That figure takes into account vaccinations, culling, and the compensation of farmers there.
Central bank floated the idea of dumping the greenback as the world's reserve currency, replacing it with an international.
You believe deeply in your system, and we believe just as deeply in our system. It is not our common beliefs that have brought us together here, but our common interests and our common hopes. The interest that each of us has to maintain our independence and the security of our peoples, and the hope that each of us has to build a new world order in which nations and peoples with different systems and different values can live together in peace, respecting one another while disagreeing with one another, letting history rather than the battlefield be the judge of their different ideas.
The opportunity is to recognize that a governing movement is three things. It's top down, you handled that. You got the White House, the Senate, and the House. You handle the top down. But it's also bottom up and inside out. Top down, bottom up, and inside out. So now your challenge as you leave here, our challenge, is to take care of that bottom up part and that inside out part, the heart part.
Thousands of people gathered to hear Barack Obama deliver key foreign policy speech on his current European tour. His vision for America's place in a new world order.
Returning vets could be a risk to our nation.
We've got to give them a stake in creating the kind of world order that I think all of us would like to see.
And one of the ways it will drive the change is through global governance.
I think the new world order is emerging.
This is a hoax and a scam which is designed to transfer wealth and power from the private sector to the government sector and from the government of the United States to a world government.
And those people who have been yelling, oh, the UN's going to take over global
conspiracy
government.
theories.
They've been crazy, but now they're right.
And who got the money? Hundreds and hundreds of banks. Any bank or that has access to the U.S. Federal Reserve's discount. Tell us who they are. No.
You know, financial terrorism. They have the ability to tweak the knob.
I am proposing that the Federal Reserve be granted new authority.
The ultimate goal of the carbon tax and the cap and trade is to destroy production.
This energy tax is the largest tax increase in American history.
We're actually creating a global warming police. So number one, they can come in, the federal government can come in, inspect your house, and send you the bill. We're setting up a global warming Gestapo.
One of the things that if you talk to our generals, they are desperate for is a civilian counterpart to our military forces.
I am fierce.
And this is what I wear.
Senator Barack Obama's presidential campaign is asking Missouri law enforcement to target anyone who lies or runs a misleading television ad.
I've now been in 57 states. I think one left to go.
The president, when he was in Europe last week, he met with the king of Saudi Arabia. He appeared to bow.
You get, I guess, an alignment under a global world government, a new global currency, and a new world order.
That's not good. The guest just said that the dollar would collapse and replaced with some sort of global currency. I mean, have you checked the front page of the Drudge Report today? China is saying, hey, America, you really might want to rethink that whole healthcare thing. It seems pretty expensive. That is our bank. That's like your bank calling up and saying, hey, by the way, I think you guys are spending too much money. That's a pretty big house. If this bank doesn't give us any more loan, or if we burn this bank, there's nobody left. A one world